We talked about it, heard about it. We've watched a lot of them.
We're finally doing a thing.
Yeah, we're finally doing a thing.
Yes.
A thing.
Very good.
The last time we did a thing, we ended up with a child.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay, good.
So anyway, we made a decision not to, we decided we were ready to have kids. But anyway, here we go. We're about to start with who are we? Why are we here? And why are we doing this?
Yes. So, who we are. So, I'm Adam. This is Megan.
Hi.
And we're off to a good start. This is a conversation about how we are raising our 2E child to be kind, generous, and
Herself.
expressed. Kind, generous, and expressed.
Yes.
A conversation about how we're raising our child to be kind, generous, and expressed.
Yeah. I guess you could say that.
I don't know. That part I'm looking at. We're off to a good start.
But yeah. It's also, we're here because we think we have some ideas. One thing that have worked for us that we think other people might find useful as well, or they might find it here themselves and say, oh, I've done that, or they know that they're not alone with all of this. So to clarify, what do we mean by 2E? Some people think that 2E is just two exceptionalities. So it might be somebody with attention deficit disorder and hearing impairment, or it might be blind and ADHD. But the reality is, the way the research really talks about it and the professionals is 2E starts with gifted first, a gifted child who then has another exceptionality such as ADHD, dysgraphia, dyslexia, a physical disability, any one of those things. Or in our case, it's our daughter's gifted Asperger's and ADHD. And dysgraphia.
And sensory issues.
And sensory issues that are not related to the Asperger's.
And curly red hair.
Right. Well, that's not really the exceptionality in that regard in the way we're talking about it. But it is an exceptionally beautiful color red. That's true. And very curly.
I think that should be the Park City picture should be our screen.
Yeah, it could probably be that, yes.
I think it would be a good picture for that.
That would be. It would be. So anything else? So my background. How do we come to this? Well, one, I'm 49 today. Yay, because it's my birthday. And I will be 50 next year, obviously. And I'm looking forward to that more than I am this current birthday. I know. That might tell you a little bit about me. But professionally, what I've done in the past, I've been a teacher. I have my PhD almost. I did everything but my defense. I wrote my dissertation. Didn't do my defense because our daughter was born 9 weeks early. So, but in education, curriculum and instruction, and specifically looking at reading and writing. How do we learn it? Why do we learn it the way we learn it? I've also done extensive work with schools and school cultures. And I also am a mother, right? That's a big part of my background. And I'm also hearing impaired, and I have ADHD diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And I would have been tested as gifted, but back in the 70s, they thought if you had a hearing impairment, there's no way you could be gifted. So they never tested me.
Yeah, you even went past 8th grade.
I even went past 8th grade. They said I wouldn't, and I did. So that's my background that we bring to this conversation. What about for you, Adam? Oh, and I'm the youngest of 4.
Yeah, I'm an only child, and we only had one here because we got it right the first time. And so what I know about my history is that I didn't start reading particularly early. I think I got through 2nd grade and wasn't reading. And then the summer between 2nd and 3rd grade, I went from like a kindergarten reading level or 1st grade reading level to like 5th grade during that summer. So my reading light came on. Then
he got that phrase from me.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
and then in 3rd grade, I started in the Gifted and Talented program at my school in San Antonio. And so I was and that was the leading cohort of the Gifted program up through that school district. So I was always in the Gifted and Talented program up through high school. And so our program had honors classes, and it had gifted and talented gifted and talented classes, like for math and such. And so honors math, honors geometry just had more work to do, but less interesting for me than the Gifted and Talented program. So for me, it was a good thing.
The other thing that we manage in our lives are my chronic illness conditions, if you will. I have epilepsy, I have Meniere's disease, I've got arthritis, Crohn's disease, many other things. So we have that constantly in our relationship, like how to manage those unpredictable events when they happen. And we've had to raise our daughter inside of that with those things as well. So that will be contributing to some of our conversations and some of our strategies that we've come up with or that we discovered along the way, if you will, for how do we make our family work.
So you want to discuss how we discovered we had a gifted child?
Yes, we shall, because neither one of us had a clue that Amelia was gifted in any way. It just never occurred to us. We had until Amelia was in kindergarten, and we went in for the parent-teacher conference.
The first, like in the first month or
Right.
whatever.
Right, and the parent-teacher conference, the teacher said, if you do not get your child tested for the GT program, I will report you to Child Protective Services. Jokingly, of course. But she was serious in the sense of that our daughter needed more support than what she would be getting in the regular classroom. And so that would become on us. That was our responsibility then. It was a really great way to let us know that this is something you need to take seriously.
And that was a gifted, like a pull-out program. There were, so the kindergartners, it started the second semester of kindergarten. So the kindergartners got like 45 or 50 minutes, one or 2 days a week?
4 days a week.
4 days a week? Wow. Okay, I forgot how it went.
Yeah, 4 days a week.
So 4 days a week for each grade, about 45 minutes a day. And the idea for that was take something, learn a little bit about it, and then go deep in it quickly because they didn't have to do a lot of the repetition to get it in with these kids.
But what made we were very grateful that we were in the public school system at the time because it was a phenomenal school. It was one of the best in the nation. And we very luckily live in that zone. So their gifted program was different than the one that Adam grew up with or that I grew up with, in that they put equal emphasis on the creative side of things. They looked for creative thinking. What are the questions the students are asking? It wasn't just how quickly are they learning something or retaining it, but it's what did they do with that information? That qualified them for this particular program. They didn't take someone and put them in the GT program if all they could do was perform well on a test. It had to, like I said, it's what did they do with that information once they had it?
Like it wasn't just somebody being precocious in math. It was they're really good at the math and they translate all the numbers into colors and do math with colored crayons but no actual numerals. Something out like that.
Yeah, in our case, our daughter still could not read at that time of the testing. So that wasn't there wasn't a precociousness towards a particular skill. She knew her numbers, she knew her colors forwards and backwards, of course, because she started making her own colors when she was, 18 months.
Mixing
Paints and so forth.
And she only made brown when she wanted to make brown.
Right, but the point was at the testing that they did was one of them was, many of you probably experienced this too. They gave her a Band-Aid and said, what else could you do with this? And she made a mailbox for birds complete with a little red flag out of her Band-Aid. Because they never told her you can't use crayons, you can't paint it. They didn't give her any parameters except here's a Band-Aid, what are you going to do with it? And so using that kind of creativity is what they were also looking for. And that's where our daughter excelled. And so during her testing, she sang all of her answers to them. They read the answers, the questions, and then she sang everything because she was ready to move on with stuff. And she had to make it interesting in some way.
Yeah.
And so, but still being attuned to what's going on. Now, many people might have seen that as being distracting, not behaving, not following the rules. But thank goodness within this program, they gave her the latitude to have that expression. And that became a key thing for us is for her life is how not to quash her.
That's my goal as a parent is to not squash her creativity, not make it be what makes me comfortable or what makes it look like I'm being a good parent. It's my goal is to not have that be the criteria for how I guide her. I want to guide her such that she is and maintains her ability to stay expressed.
And there's a great story that led to this because we started her in kindergarten with this commitment already of to never be embarrassed by anything she did. And
Yes.
that started very, very early on. We laid that as a basic rule of parenting for us.
Okay. So one thing is you want to not bump the table.
I'm trying not
I'm
to.
discovering
Okay.
because I'm seeing the
Okay.
microphone jiggle.
So go ahead.
Okay. So how we came to that was we were flying home from San Francisco.
Right.
Amelia was 2-ish.
Yes. She was still in diapers, so yes.
Still in diapers. Yeah, you're right. Good point. Still in diapers. But clearly talking. And so it was a wide body jet. So we're in the middle chunk of seats, kind of in the front of one of the sections. And something happened at the airport where we were, our destination. So I said, we're going to push back from the gate and go park on the tarmac and just shut the engines down, save fuel. It'll be about 20 minutes. Then we can get up and they'll be ready for us and we can leave. So we push back and Amelia was there and she's wiggly. And we go out to the tarmac, shut the engines down. And when the engines shut down on a plane, even if you're on the ground, everybody gets quiet. Like if you're in a restaurant and somebody drops a tray of dishes, like everybody gets quiet for a moment.
Yeah.
So Amelia's all wiggly and she's now out of her seatbelt and we're just sitting there and her leg hurt or her butt hurts.
Right.
Yeah, her butt hurts was the point because she wanted me to kiss it and make it better. So I didn't want to do that. Right. So she said, kiss my butt, make it better. I said, I don't want to kiss your butt and make it better. Daddy, I need it. It hurts. Make it better. And so I kissed her hip. And that was not good enough. So she turns to me and says, Daddy, not my leg, kiss my butt. And that was right when the engine shut down. Everybody got quiet. Daddy, kiss my butt. And I could tell how far her voice carried because for the next 6 or 8 rows behind us, everybody just started laughing because of course they did. It's hilarious. And I had the moment of oh my gosh. And then I had the thought, what can I do with this? What does this mean about me? Am I embarrassed by this? And I decided I was never going to be embarrassed by anything that she did. Whatever she did was not going to embarrass me. So that was that. Before and after that moment, there was the decision that I was not going to be embarrassed by her.
And then he had to convince me of that. And that was a hard one to convince.
Yeah.
Because I was raised in while we had very similar backgrounds in the way we were raised.
That's her.
Yeah, that's Amelia. This is who we've been talking about. The red curly hair. See, the exceptional red curly hair. So I was raised in a very proper, to be very proper and polite at all times. And there are certain sets of rules or behaviors you have to follow. And the parents are held responsible for any of their children's actions. And some of you can relate to that, I'm sure. So it took something for me to not get embarrassed. So when Amelia's in dance class, when she's 3 years old, and everybody else is doing the required dance routine, but our daughter decides to do her own thing, I had to not get embarrassed. I had to work really hard not to be embarrassed by it. The people around us thought it was cute, interesting, entertaining, all of that, and they thought, hey, there's a rebel. She knows herself. That's really great. Right? But I was she's not following, and I had to catch myself. And it's something I've worked really hard to rechannel that embarrassment and the thinking process of what is embarrassment. Because those of you who have children with Asperger's, like we do, many children with Asperger's or many people with Asperger's don't have a concept for embarrassment. And Amelia doesn't. She really doesn't understand. She gets it as an intellectual thing and that there is such a thing exists, but to experience it, she never has. She claims she never has. And it's hard for her to relate to with other people when they say they're embarrassed by something.
I can understand the concept of embarrassment as in you accidentally had a hole in your pants you didn't realize about.
Yes.
I can't realize the concept of embarrassment as in you did something wrong.
Right.
It's not embarrassing.
Yeah. And one of her thoughts that I really love and would like to take on is, why would you not do something just because you might be embarrassed?
And it's a good story. Could be. But this is also part of the format. You're going to see our daughter every once in a while. She'll come in. We might have her come in and talk some more and give some more insights about what we do so she can tell you what her experience is of what we think we've done. Like that.
Right.
So, but it is, for us, this whole blog, video cast, what have you, however it's going to turn out, whatever we end up
Right.
doing, is so that we can share what we've done, help people find connections and feel connected, that they're not alone. One of the books we read very early on, because it was suggested to us that we do, was The Highly Sensitive Child.
Right.
And in there, she goes through and describes what the majority of the people with high sensitivities are like. Then she gets to this one part that says, here's about the 1% of people who are verbally expressed, they're out there all the time, and they look like they're extroverts. They're really introverts, but they look like and present like they're extroverts. And for those people, you need to never do it alone. And that's us. Amelia is that way. So we didn't do any of this in a vacuum, only within our own secluded self. We sought out experts from experts. We sought out friends, help from family. We had nannies at times because, as I said, I had medical conditions to deal with. So we hired some nannies to help when I couldn't be there.
Well, it was like we put together the village.
Right, we
Of
did.
people that could make it work with us. We had to find our tribe for it now.
And
Right.
a couple of the nanny
And then the other
possibilities
part of
didn't
this
work.
is to help people find their tribe. It's like to begin to identify, well, what do they want? What is their tribe, really? And while we can't speak for you, you might be able to see something in what we say and how we do things, how we do life, that helps you identify that.
And
Yeah.
other thing, not all of the people we thought we found worked.
Yes.
I had one really disastrous babysitter, but that was not getting, like, not right now, but I had a disaster. It was not good.
Okay.
Okay.
So, like, it doesn't always work.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
going to, there'll be hit and misses, you know.
Yes.
There will be some misses, but the point is that when that happens, is to just look to see where's the gap. What do we need? What did we learn from this, and what do we need now? And you can only do that when you've got people around you that you really trust to help you regroup
Right.
and steer you in the next direction you need to go.
Okay.
So on this podcast too, some of the topics we'll be talking about are specifically geared towards 2E issues. So that's gifted and whatever else it might be. So, but thankfully we found a private, thankfully we found schools that work for our daughter at the time, wherever she was at that time. So for a while, public school worked, but then it didn't. And they told us it didn't, the people at the public
Yes.
schools. But they guided us. They didn't just kick us out. They guided us to people who could then send us to the next place. So she's now at a private school. But we have some friends who homeschool. We have friends who do the unschooling. We have friends that do a combination of public school for the day, at home for some parts, and then they do homeschooling for other classes. They seek out different resources. So we're going to talk about how do you do the homeschool connection? What does that look like? How do you communicate with this if you're in a school?
Maybe the school-home connection.
Yeah,
Because if you say
school-
homeschool connection, it's
Yeah.
different than the home school connection.
Yes, and we do that too. We play with language, we catch each other, and we're good with that. So we'll
and-
talk about things like that. We'll also talk about how do you communicate to the doctors to let them know that yes, your child is 12 years old, but yeah, no, she can't not think about the pain of a shot. And yes, she got to go through all of this stuff. It's going to take something to get her to be able to do a shot or a throat culture. And then how do you cultivate that relationship with doctors, nurses, the people that you need, right?
To have her
To have
be
her
heard.
be win, to have Amelia be comfortable and win, but at the same time have Amelia grow and develop beyond where she's comfortable at the same time, striking that balance.
Other
Yes?
thought I wanted to mention, and then there's the amazing weird format for school that I'm doing for high school.
We're planning for that, yeah.
Yeah.
The amazingly weird one.
Right.
That's
So-
not any of the things you just mentioned.
Yeah, it is.
True.
But it wasn't one of the options. I said some people do homeschooling, online schooling, what have you.
Slightly different than that.
So
Yes, it is.
then we're also going to talk about things like within the family, how does communication work? And then how do you have that communication model be supported outside of that, either with the extended family, with your friends, with the school again. So because we need some consistency, especially for people with Asperger's, it helps to have that consistency, but still honor the differences of the environment. So school has a certain way it has to work because there are more people involved, there's more kids, there's safety concerns, all of that. Yet there is a way you can get them to still support what you're doing at home and you support what the school is doing at home. So communications around that, how do you work all of that out? We'll be talking about that.
I think you shouldn't have said home there twice. I think you should have said either support what you're doing at school and then what the school's doing at home, or say support what you're doing at home and then what the school's doing at school.
Okay,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Not both times.
So since this is all practice, it's a really good thing that this is all practice because
Yeah.
our constant interruption actually can be disruptive. I'm finding that out.
You're finding that out.
Yeah, I'm realizing that. I thought I could work with it and make it work within this stuff, and I really can't. The constant
This-
interruptions or
this is-
interjections. Huh?
Should have told me not to interrupt them.
This is why her teachers are amazing.
Yes.
Because they deal with this, walking around, or sometimes kids walk around the room in school and they still have to, convey what they're conveying and make sure that the kid's getting in. But the walking around is not necessarily not paying attention. There's, the kids can still be listening. Sometimes the kids require a lot of movement to be able to have their brain focus. So we're not that.
The movement doesn't bother me. It's the interruption of, well, you're doing it wrong kind of thing.
Yeah.
The implication that we somehow, that interruption for that.
Concur.
The way she was interrupting. It's not so much that she did, but it was her.
Putting in corrections
Right. That,
in places that it didn't matter.
yes. So that, right? So
Well,
you get a sense of this.
And then there's like sorting out, like for me it didn't matter. For you it didn't matter. For her it mattered.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing is we sort out. It's not, can you pause that for a little bit and not do that right here while we're working on this?
Fine.
Okay, thank you. Because every time the table gets bumped, the camera jiggles.
Oh.
So then we also,
I was in a thought.
I know you were, so go ahead.
What was it?
You were saying we work really hard not to quash. Like she has what's important to her and matters to her in the moment.
Yeah.
If we don't understand,
Even if we don't understand it, it's a real thing.
like that.
So we will be recording this while she's at school.
Yes. For some of them. And then when we do want her to be a part of it, we will set her up more with the formal expectations of it.
Yeah.
And
But we'll also like set it up that she can do what she needs to do to
yes,
be
exactly, to be
engaged.
expressed.
That's not like formal. It's like realizing what's a formal expectation is how it should look. Is that our view? And
Right.
why should that be our view? Is that a good way to have it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, quite.
I'll always go with the formal way, just so you know.
Yes.
That's my safety zone.
That's my
I
safety
know
zone, too.
the formal.
It's my
You know,
safety
you
zone.
know all the
too.
rules.
This obviously is not the formal way, even though she just said that she prefers the formal way.
That's my safety zone. I'm fine being out of my safety zone here. But
Okay.
my safest interacting with strangers safety zone is a formal, like the Model UN conferences.
Ah,
Okay.
right. Okay.
Right?
So
If
that's
I'm,
not this.
That's
for
not
meeting
this.
people, I'm better in a formal. Like I'm actually
Okay.
more articulate in formal.
Yes.
Do you have
Okay.
do you have a conclusion?
So the conclusion is that our next session, we will talk more about in depth about this quashing thing, especially when you don't understand. Their experience of the meltdowns, like you don't understand when it's not that big a deal. Those are key trigger words for our daughter. It's to say it's not that big a deal, or life is unfair. Just get over it, or anything like that.
Even if it's true.
Yes, even if it's true, because from our perspective, we've gotten really clear that from our perspective, that's totally stated from our perspective and our experiences. So in our next session, we will talk about how do you navigate that? What did we come to terms with around dealing with those kind of upsets? And then how did we teach our teachers how to
Yeah.
deal with that?
Okay.
Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you come next time. Bye.